Pantomime as a British theatre tradition. So first we're going to go over the world theatre tradition and its context. So first we're asked the question, what is pantomime? Pantomime literally stands for all kinds of mime. It is the art of acting without words, and it is often called the art of silence. In contradiction to that, however, another definition states that it is not a theater where the actor does not speak, but a theater where the actor's body does speak. So now to go over the history behind pantomime. Pantomime is universally known as a British theater institution. However, the origin sparks from the Italian street theater, Commedia dell'arte. Characters were created in French and Italian companies, and then they began to be seen in British comedies. By the Victorian era, pantomime was extremely prevalent in British Christmas culture. The father of modern pantomime, Augustus Harris, encouraged lavish productions and competition between theaters across the country. British pantomime also dates back to Roman pantomime. In Rome, one male dancer would act all the roles in one story. Due to how limiting this definition is, it is less associated with modern pantomime than the Italian Commedia dell'arte. It is traditionally used in comedies because it is typically used to reflect positivity. The idea of happy endings are standard in British pantomime. This is supported by extravagant costumes and sets. So these are some pictures that I found that really helped me understand what pantomime was and the culture behind it. So above are actors in a traditional pantomime during Christmas season in Britain. And then to the right is a picture of Dan Leno and Herbert Campbell in the pantomime production of Babes in the Wood in 1897. So obviously this one is in black and white, so you can't really see the colors of it, but you can still see the extravagant costumes and sets and general happy tone in both of these photos that represent what they stand for in British culture. So the significance for the actor regarding pantomime. Pantomime is thought to be useful to actors because inexperienced actors tend to rely on what they are saying, yet a massive aspect of our daily communication is nonverbal in daily life. So gestures, facial expressions, and body language assist us as human beings in fully expressing ourselves. In pantomime, actors are able to be expressive from top to bottom. It is said to help build an actor's self-confidence, personal resources, self-discipline, as well as other skill sets that will become useful in all other areas of theater. Actors are required to broaden their imagination during a pantomime because the audience has to see what does not physically exist through the actor's eyes. So for actors, they must visualize themselves with the objects surrounding them and where they are for this to be successful. So performance conventions and the process of their physical and practical explorations. So I'm going to talk about the process that is traditionally taken when performing a pantomime. So this starts by selecting an idea or a storyline that can be broken up into a beginning, middle, and end. The beginning being the place where you introduce the character, the middle being establishing a problem, and then the end being solving a problem. So the whole process of trying to solve a problem would again feed into what I had originally said, where it's usually used to spread positivity and there's always happy endings. So actors then must associate what they want to convey with movements that are associated with the emotions that they are trying to demonstrate. So I found this chart on one of my resources that I really liked because it took a personality trait and associated actions with it. For example, being strong-willed and confident means that you would be standing up tall, using broad gestures, and moving with authority. Whereas when you are shy or kept to yourself, you stand timidly, you use small, weak gestures, and you move more slowly than someone who's a bit more confident. So then actors must implement an ability to exercise relaxation. so that they may produce composure and self-awareness, ultimately making them more physically and mentally flexible. This is mandatory for producing authentic pantomime. Actors must be cognizant of how they stand, walk, sit, turn, fall, and gesture as to give a clear representation of the character and the situation. So you really have to study how you're walking and how you're sitting so that you can be aware of how your character would then do it. As a means of preparation and rehearsal, many actors implement costuming as a way to create a blank canvas for characterization. Black and white clothing with red accents, black flat shoes, and white face makeup are traditional. So some key elements for pantomiming are simplicity, accuracy, consistency, and exaggeration. Simplicity is used for a clear understanding. So this can be accomplished by not including too many details and clouding the main objective. Accuracy is just for believability. Consistency is done by keeping all items the same size, shape, weight, and same place and time. And exaggeration is used for clarity. This can be achieved by making actions, objects, and movements larger than you would in normal day life so that from far away, it is perceived as realistic. So this is my rehearsal and mental preparation process. I took pictures of myself in black and white, again, going back to the traditional how you are supposed to dress in black and white and the reason I'm dressed in black and white right now. And this was my rehearsal process. So I took pictures actually so that I could look back on them and see how exaggerated my faces were to see if they would be perceived well from far away. And then this is me doing a relaxation technique that I found to kind of get me in the mental space to do it. So now I'm going to demonstrate an example that I found from one of my sources and then explain why exactly I did what I did. And yes, okay, so. Okay, so what I did in my demonstration was I wanted to take on a character that I had found online so that I had a really clear step-by-step pantomime, and I could also break down the beginning, middle, and end as you're traditionally supposed to. So the location that I was and the character I was a frustrated businessman at a bus stop, and the conflict or the issue that I was having was that my wristwatch did not work. And my resolution for this, or how I solved this problem, was that I threw the wristwatch down and I stomped on it because I was upset that it did not work. At the end, the wristwatch ultimately did start working, and I realized that it wasn't the correct time that I was supposed to be at the bus stop, so then I walked away. So that was the reasoning behind what I did. and the imaginary props that I used was a wristwatch and a briefcase that was in my right hand. So the impact of this study on me was quite significant, actually. The time that I spent doing thorough research and rehearsing the demonstration has taught me a lot about not only the entire culture of British pantomime and the art form, but myself as an actor. To make exaggerated movements as a way of clearly expressing an objective of a scene was something that I did not realize was going to be so difficult for me. I found that as an actor, I rely heavily on spoken words, but this practice has pushed me outside of that comfort zone. There is a clear connection between the art of pantomiming and the teachings of Michael Chekhov's psychophysical technique, which I had studied earlier this year and implemented his teachings into a monologue that I performed, which served as a really good segue into this practice. Both performance conventions challenges actors to use physicality as a way of storytelling and not falling back on the explicit wording of a script. The exploration of pantomime as a whole has been enlightening to me because I have learned what I need to continue to work on and how to become a more well-rounded and experienced physical actor, even in a very, very short demonstration and practice that it had an extreme impact on me. And this is my works cited. Thank you.